Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL's college football gambling locks. Pretty good week for everybody except for me. I went 500. I didn't have that many picks, but it's all right. I think I don't know who won the week. Who won the week? Larsen, you went
Jake
7
went
and 2.
101.
You always got to watch out for Jake. Let's get this thing going. BYU at SMU, 11.5 Friday night. Anyone back in the Mustangs after their pathetic performance against Nevada? No one wants to go back and say, hey, that was a fluke. The Mustangs are good. They're going to beat Miami in the ACC championship. No one wants to say it? Okay.
Well, Nevada looks better than we thought.
They did win. They did win again. 2-0 Nevada. We
That's
also
right.
have Duke and Northwestern. Holy hell. Is this an under?
I got the under. Yeah, I do.
I'll ride that. We
played
week
one. I told you guys that Northwestern's practice field is right off the lake, and it apparently makes for some pretty bad conditions. They played a game last week. Final was 13-6. These aren't exactly what I would consider to be two powerhouse offenses, a Manny Diaz defense. Let me go ahead and take the under 37.
I agree. I mean, it's a blind kind of ride. Like, these Northwestern games.
It's so low,
but it
has to go.
But they hit.
Isn't there an NFL game on Friday? Yeah, there is. So that's a set it and forget it. I'm not watching this game. I'll watch Packers and Eagles tomorrow, maybe.
Yep.
I'll take
in
that
Brazil. Is that game at the same time? Is it like at a
yes,
prime
it is.
time?
Yes,
all right. KSU and Tulane. That's Saturday at 12. 9-point dogs, Tulane Green Wave against Kansas State. Kind of a small line for Kansas State.
I put a small amount of money on Tulane money line. We'll see.
Hey, just remember 4 out of the last 5 years, Kansas State has lost a game as a double-digit favorite. And I think one of them was to Tulane a few years ago.
It was to Tulane, yeah.
Tulane team that was really good, yeah.
Rutgers, minus 23 against the Akron Zips, coming off a tough loss, a tight loss to Ohio State. 39.5 is the over-under.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm back onto blindly betting Rutgers spread, but Akron didn't look as bad as I thought they would against Ohio State. So I'm going to hold off on this one for now.
Yeah, I actually thought about taking Akron because Rutgers looks like we have some sketchy quarterback play at Rutgers again. But actually, Akron was a little bit impressive last week. I don't know if y'all saw that.
Yeah, they weren't bad.
It took 3 turnovers and 2 defensive touchdowns for Ohio State to really pull away. So I was looking at Akron, but
they had 2 defensive touchdowns. I didn't watch that game.
They were like pretty
Ohio
late.
State did,
That's pretty crazy.
Penn State and Bowling Green, 35 is the line.
That feels like it should be higher. I mean, is Bowling Green good?
They got the ugliest uniforms in FBS.
I think Bowling Green's not too bad. They're middle of the MAC.
Penn State really surprised me. They really shut me up. I'm going to wait and see.
It's Andy Kotelnicki. I mean, that's Penn State's going to start really proving to be a real team. It's because of Andy Kotelnicki.
Who's that, the OC?
Yeah, they brought him from Kansas. And he has that offense looking really good. I watched a little bit of Penn State.
What were they still running 2008 LSU I formation?
No,
that's good.
They were hitting.
It took James Franklin a decade to figure out that offense doesn't work anymore. Good for him.
I'm surprised he made it, but I agree.
Good for him.
It'll actually be nice to see.
It would be nice
all that talent get put in like good situations. Cincinnati and Pitt minus 2.5. Cincinnati.
AFC North game.
Really need Pitt for the
AFC North game.
Troy, disappointing loss to Nevada, who we spoke about earlier in the show. 18.5-point dogs against Memphis. A lot of people's group of 5 favorites.
Memphis is in a. Go ahead. You're going to say what I'm going to say.
Well, I was just going to say Memphis. Now everyone is talking about Memphis and Florida State. Memphis can go to Tallahassee and beat Florida State.
Look ahead spot.
Maybe careful that Memphis is looking ahead a little bit, but Troy, that's a totally different Troy team that. I bet them a little bit last week because I thought Nevada was horrible, and it's too new of a Troy team for me to put any money on them.
Over under weeks until DJU is from today. DJU is benched.
It should be next game, right? I mean,
it should be half of a week.
If they're down to Memphis at halftime, then yes.
How many weeks before Florida State figures out how to cover the wheel route?
That too.
Half a week.
Here we go. A lot of the big games are at noon. Biggest game. Michigan in the Big House. This line was at 7.5. It's back down to 7. I think it'll probably maybe go to 7.5, but I think 7.5, 7. If you like Michigan, you want to wait till it's 7.5. I think it'll get back up there at some point. If you like Texas, maybe bet it down, but I think this is where it hovers around.
Yeah, well, this line has had a lot of money on Texas, and it hasn't moved very much, unlike that NC State-Tennessee line, which is the other big the big ticket game this weekend. So I would stay careful if you're a Texas bettor because
I am a Texas bettor because I do not believe in Michigan, and I felt good about it last week. I bet against them, and they proved me right. And the fact of the matter is, Sharon Moore is in over his head. He was driving somebody else's car last year, and he didn't crash it. This is his car. It's a piece of shit 08 Honda. Their offense, who are they? And they have a couple of first-round picks on defense. I'm all over Texas. I think, they looked good last week, but who the hell do they play? And I can't believe – that's the first time I saw this line, and I couldn't believe they were 7-point favorites in the big house. I'm all over it.
Well, this
and the over
like,
42.5.
This line over the offseason was like 3.5. I mean, I think Michigan –
I just don't think they're a very good football team.
I think yes, offensively, brutal.
But I think they're going to be able to run the football this weekend because Texas's defense is not going to be very good.
Well, if you think they're going to be able to run the football, you might want to double check your back. Listen, Michigan's defense is legit. It's as legit as any in the country. 7 points is a lot. I'm not touching Michigan, but I wouldn't be surprised if they cover this number at home because their defense is really, 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 really good.
The under's definitely a possible play here.
Yeah, I think Michigan is probably my favorite bet of the week here. I know the quarterback questions are all over Michigan. They're going to lean heavily on Edwards in the run game. We know that they do that. They're going to run their normal, very slow tempo. The clock's going to run. They're going to limit possessions. It'll wear down the Texas defense. Texas defense struggles against the run, especially we know they lost their top two.
They lost Devondre Sweat and Keandre Colburn in the offseason.
They didn't replace those very well, and they graded out pretty poorly last week against Colorado State, who actually had success running it. Michigan's got a good offensive line. They're going to control the trenches. And Colorado State, even with a pretty horrible Mountain West offensive line, Texas didn't have a single sack. And like we mentioned, Michigan's defense still very good.
Sounds like a lot of points.
Yeah, I mean, dude,
you're making a case for the over, and you don't even know.
I'm not betting the total. I'm betting Michigan.
I'm okay. Got it.
Michigan held Fresno. Michigan held Fresno.
I've got one. One of them doesn't work.
9 total yards rushing Fresno had last week. And I just think Michigan's going to make this a run game when they have the ball. I don't know how the line shot up from 3.5 to 7.5 after 1 week. That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Everybody watched those two games and realized that Michigan's not a good football
But that's who
Michigan's
Michigan's
not a bad
been.
Team,
that's who Michigan's been. Like
I've been all over it on the offseason. I'm not gonna go away from it now.
I also think Texas has a ton of questions in the secondary, and I know Michigan's not going to try to throw the ball, but there could be a big play in there for them.
I think there will be a lot of big plays via run. Like I do think that Michigan's run game is good, but
if you think listen, I think
Texas's offense is going to score, and it's going to make this Michigan defense look not as good as everybody's saying.
I don't see that happening.
Fresno scored some points.
No, they didn't.
They scored 10.
That feels like enough for me.
And they had 3 when it mattered.
Fresno fucking sucks.
They got a garbage touchdown. That defense looked really good. Everything else on Michigan looks suspect. So I understand not betting them. Yeah, I don't blame you. Like, I would lean towards Michigan. Home dog. I
love it. Home dogs always bark.
I wasn't there with Texas before the season. I'm certainly not going to all of a sudden start sucking them off because they beat Colorado State.
I've been talking shit about Texas and Michigan all offseason, so I'm really in a pickle here.
You're in a win-win. Basically.
I just hope it's a great game.
Yeah, I am. I am going to bet on Texas, and if they don't cover, it's like, wow, you suck.
I hope it lives up.
I was right.
I hope it lives up to the hype. We got the Pokes in Arkansas, which I think could be the most intriguing matchup of the weekend outside of the bigger games. There's not a ton of big games. I love this matchup. Arkansas looked great. Their quarterback's legit. Oklahoma State looked really good as well against the Jackrabbits. 7.5 here on the road in Stillwater.
Yeah, Taylor Green's a really good player. He looked as good as advertised. I'll say in game 1 they were playing Arkansas.
UAPB. Let's not take anything away from that game. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will say Taylor Green did look good. Oklahoma State's a tough place to play on the road. So I am going to stay away from this one. If this was even a neutral site game in Dallas, I would lean Arkansas, but no thanks.
The Pokes took care of business last week. People thought it'd be a sleepy spot for them. They played really well. Took care of business.
I didn't watch either of those games, but
I thought the Pokes looked really good.
I'll ride if one of you guys are feel strongly.
I'm not going to
about
bet this. No.
Okay.
No.
Army and FAU.
I saw a graphic today that said probably 93% of the money was on Army or on Florida Atlantic, excuse me. So I'm strongly considering Army. I think Larson's already taken them.
Yeah, I'll take Army. I like Army +4. I like them money line. I think they win outright. It's a little bit of an overrated line here. I think Florida Atlantic keeping it close to Michigan State last week, but let's remember that that's a really bad Michigan State team with a brand new roster and a brand new coaching staff. Even then, I didn't think Florida Atlantic's quarterback Cam Fancher looked very good. If he's like mediocre in that game, they probably win. And so their run defense not very good. Hey, guess what? Army's going to run the ball a lot. I know they played an FCS team last week, but they looked really good. They're clicking. I think this is just an overrated line. Florida Atlantic is not the Florida Atlantic we saw a few years ago. It's not a great program, really. And Army's going to run it down the throat.
Public is all over Florida Atlantic. So
yeah. I think Army wins. Give me money.
I agree with the public. Pure and simple. We thank you for your service, but you suck at football. All three of you. Go on.
Why doesn't the Coast Guard have a team? My biggest question.
Oh, my God.
Syracuse and Georgia Tech, another intriguing game. Just Brent Key, keep the momentum going. This is a huge –
Nope.
I wouldn't even say this is a sleepy spot. I mean, this is just a big game against like a mediocre team that if you want to try to say you're in the top half of the ACC, you got to win.
Yeah, you got to win this.
They're not going to.
And
Syracuse +3 and money line.
I am blindly riding this. I did watch the Georgia State game last week. I have no idea what the Q's men are about, but I am so bought into Brent Key as a head coach that, I'm just going to blindly ride him. FSU
-3. FSU losing to BC doesn't change your mind about the
I think that Billy O.B. is legit. I think he's going to turn BC not into a national championship contender, but I think he's going to, earn some respect there at Boston College.
How long before Bill O'Brien has a big job in college football again? 1 year or two?
Good question.
God. Good question. I mean, it depends how many games. If they win 9 games this year, he'll be gone.
Hey, I'll throw this out with Syracuse. That Georgia State game last week for Georgia Tech really should have been a lot closer. Georgia State left a ton of points on the board and gave Georgia Tech a few points with bad turnovers. This was also a pretty similar Georgia Tech team that was -6 last year at home to a less talented Syracuse team. Now they're going to go on the road, and I'm surprised Syracuse isn't favored here.
Carrier Dome too.
Yep,
at the Carrier Dome, whatever they call it. Yeah, I thought Syracuse looked really good.
It's not called. It is called the Carrier.
Yeah, they didn't cover
it. JMA or something.
They didn't cover.
They changed it.
Hey, Brent Key, since taking over, 12-3 against the spread as an underdog, but only 2-5 ATS as a favorite.
That's
I don't think he thrives in this role. They're going on the road again, a big trip. I'm going Syracuse.
Georgia, 53.5. Who's taking
history would probably tell you to take Tennessee Tech here. I'm not going to touch it, but
hey,
it's a really big number.
Can I say I told you so last week? 3 for 3 on that Georgia game. 3 for 3.
I'm glad you were right.
Navy and Temple. God, Temple sucks.
Yeah, awful.
Temple might be the worst team in America. If you're looking for a team to blindly fade every week, it might be Temple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Will you get on the midshipmen?
No.
On them?
I'll
drown them. I mean, I am so fiercely against every single Service Academy's football team. Every single one of them.
UNC and Charlotte. Notre Dame and NIU.
Yes. Give me the Huskies. plus 29.5. This screams letdown spot. Hey, great win for Notre Dame last week.
They looked awesome. Great win.
They're heavily favored to make the playoff. Everyone's coming back saying you're gonna be in the playoff. Huge letdown spot here. They've got Purdue next week, which isn't huge, but they're gonna take it seriously. They don't care about this game. They're gonna coast second half. Why risk anything with starters, whatever? And also for what it's worth, NIU, they get up for these power conference games, 20-11 against the spread since 2005. They've got a lot of seniors on this team, very experienced. And these are seniors who have been on this team. These guys went to Boston College last year and won. I remember that one. They went to Georgia Tech and won. They also, like Michigan, a lot of running, very run heavy, a slow offense. They're going to limit a lot of possessions. That's why the total is 44.5 now?
Yeah.
Going to be low scoring. If you can get 9 points, if you can get 3 field goals or maybe 10 points with NIU, I think you're good in this game. Notre Dame's going to take this very lightly. So
I will ride.
NIU, 29.5.
I will ride. I'm riding.
I'll ride.
I'm riding. That convinced me.
Like
the stat about NIU against Power 5 against the spread in the last, whatever you said, 5 years was all I needed to hear.
Hey, we'll call this the UC Davis pick of the week.
Yeah, okay. Washington. We need a UC Davis pick of the week every week, and I will ride it every single week.
Washington and Eastern Michigan.
Washington -24.5. Faded EMU last week. I'm going to say the same things I said about Eastern Michigan last week. UMass couldn't take advantage of how awful their secondary was. Their offense is bad. Eastern Michigan's not good, and UMass just gave them the game. Guess who can take advantage? Washington can. Jed Fish, Jonah Coleman, Will Rogers. They should be able to torch an awful secondary.
How did Will Rogers play last week?
I thought they were fine. I thought they were fine. I mean, they're. It's.
I thought he was going to go up there and. I thought he was going to go up there
Washington.
and poop his pants.
It's a year zero. Not to mention Eastern Michigan going all the way to UMass, now going all the way to Seattle, back-to-back weeks.
That's crazy.
UMass and Toledo.
No, F UMass. UMass is not getting bet anymore.
Lacrosse
too, I agree.
Lacrosse
Utah and Baylor.
Baylor's bad, by the way. Just letting y'all know. Baylor is bad. Baylor's very bad.
We got a blind bet on the board. Iowa State. Under 35.5.
Down.
Take it every week.
I think this is one of I'm not discounting it because I'll probably take it too. I think this is one of the few Iowa games that did go over last year because I remember, maybe this was 2 years ago because it was the one where the Iowa State players were accused of betting and you can see the running back score and it looks like visibly disappointed on his face. Like, do y'all remember that?
No.
I'll find the video and send it to y'all.
Michigan State and Maryland. Maryland.
It's Maryland or pass in that game for me.
I agree. Auburn and Cal. I like Auburn.
I like Auburn too.
Even though I will say these are the kind of games that they F up in.
Yes, it is.
They're much better when they're like an underdog at home.
Everybody is counting them out.
Yeah, but Iowa returned to punt last year to blow the over. That's what it was.
Well, they don't have Cooper DeJean, so.
But I also like Auburn this year. Like I like them as a team. Like I think they're going to win 8 or 9 games. So.
Peyton Thorne might lead the country in passing yards by the end of the
Kentucky and South Carolina. Holy shit, South Carolina. That was one of the most fucking pathetic performances I've seen in so long.
That is insane for them to be +3 in the turnovers. They had 3 more turnovers. They got crazy. 3 more turnovers, and they still needed to come back to win that game.
I'll take Kentucky 9.5.
I didn't really watch Brock last week, but I heard he did decent.
Well, they only played like one half because they started at midnight because of rain. Crazy. So yeah,
okay. Fun game of the week. UTSA and Texas State.
Yeah, I think Texas State, they were big favorites against Lamar last week, and they only won by 7. But a lot of that was they had 2 red zone turnovers as they were about to score that would have basically blown the game open. So it kind of kept the score close. And UTSA only up by 4 in the third quarter against Kennesaw.
My Owls got the cover.
Kennesaw boys were flying.
My Owls got the cover. Big game.
I think Texas State here probably.
MTSU and Ole Miss. Holy shit, Ole Miss.
That's
poor Furman.
That's crazy.
That first half spread that I gave y'all may be the best pick I've ever given anybody in my life. That is the definition of never in doubt.
I don't know anything.
50-0 at halftime.
I don't know anything about Middle Tennessee, but I feel like Ole Miss is going to do that exact same thing to every team that isn't a respectable program.
Well, Middle Tennessee almost lost to an FCS school last.
Okay, yeah. So I'm on the 42.5 for Ole Miss. I mean, that's crazy.
I'll probably take first half again.
Virginia Tech and Marshall. How about Virginia Tech losing to Vandy?
Yep,
Vandy. Come on,
the Commodores.
Huge for the win total, by the way. Vandy over 2.5.
I mean, literally.
I gotta say, I don't know if this is much of a Virginia Tech being bad thing. I might I watched that game. Like I went back and watched the condensed highlights. Diego Pavia's got a little spunk to him, man.
They're good, man. I'm telling you, Vandy can do it.
Who is Vandy's head coach again?
It's Clark Lee.
Clark Lee, me and Chase shit on Clark Lee for 15 minutes on Fox one week because he was, under some amount of.
They didn't even shit on Clark Lee. They just said, who are the biggest coaches on the hot seat in the SEC? And
under pressure. Under pressure.
And Clark Lee was like number 4. And I'm like, bro, how the fuck are you under pressure at Vanderbilt? Like, literally, this guy would have had to go 0-12. Like,
even then, you're being brought back. Like, you're still being brought back.
I was blown away.
Good for Clark Lee.
Hey, I was gonna say, what the Virginia Tech thing reminds me of was last year. Everyone was hyping up Texas Tech as the huge sleeper, and then they go out and lay an egg week 1 at Wyoming. Like, if you're Virginia Tech, you cannot lose that game at Vandy.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
So I don't know where they go.
ECU and ODU. Nothing.
South
Alabama and Ohio, those pieces of shit covering.
2 very bad defenses here. This could be a repeat of the South Alabama game last week, which I think was like 49-42. So that might be a horrible number.
Group over?
It's on my list. Yeah.
Central Michigan and FIU.
No.
Sam Houston State. How about Sam Houston, baby?
Yeah.
Yep.
They look good.
Dominant performance. They're 21.5 point dogs over UCF or against UCF.
Sam Houston, they've got a quarterback now. They looked really good last week.
Georgia Southern and Nevada. Georgia Southern only a 1 point dog to the Wolfpack, the undefeated Wolfpack, one of the few 2-0 teams in the country.
We'll talk about the Georgia State. I'll mention Georgia Southern here in a minute, but they moved the ball pretty easily last week. They
did.
good.
I was shocked.
Well, their defense looked bad, but their offense looked good.
Tulsa and Arkansas State. UAB and ULM. Do I go back to the well in Kennesaw State? 2 touchdown dogs against ULL.
Maybe you have to. Who's going to fight harder than Kennesaw State?
In Kennesaw, you're coming to Kennesaw and trying
You're coming to
beat the
Fifth
Owls?
Third.
No one comes to
Fifth
Fifth
Bank
Third.
Stadium.
Dude, Fifth Third Bank is such a sorry excuse for a stadium. It really is just pathetic. I mean, high schools around here.
Alabama looked great. Everybody on Alabama minus 30.5 against the Bulls.
I am on Bama. I don't know how that line is there.
I would take the over. Bynum Brown, quarterback for UCF, really good player. If you're looking to play something on that, the over is definitely in play.
I'm gonna do Bama line.
I mentioned before the show, Western Kentucky. I don't think that did they score it all last week? I don't know.
No, I don't think
63-0.
They moved the ball a little bit. They had 4th and goal twice. They got stuff. They threw 2 picks, but they were moving the ball a little bit. And I like Alex Golish at USF. They could cover that if the
Tennessee offense that gave Bama fits a few years ago, but
right.
These aren't the same teams.
Yeah.
Kansas and Illinois.
Gross.
What's a yucky game?
Air Force and San Jose State.
You know what to do.
There's not I just want to say there's not a lineup for Samford in Florida right now, but I will be taking Samford whenever they post that.
Samford, my alma mater, went on the road as a 24-point favorite last week and lost to West Georgia, so be careful. Might not be the same Samford team.
Wait, West Georgia still has a football team?
But yes,
They had a huge
year. Hey,
this is their first year?
Yeah,
No, not their first year playing football, but it's the first year in FCS. Is it?
What do you want,
They
Larson?
moved up from like Division III or something.
Good for them. Wow, big win for them then.
I really like San Jose State plus 6.5. Also take the money line. They're going to beat Air Force outright. Air Force looked awful last week against Merrimack. 3 yards per carry. That's not what you're supposed to do, Air Force. And it's a very new Air Force team. Overhauled in the offseason, returning only 28% of production from last year. It's one of the lowest in the nation. And then San Jose State's new coach, Ken Noimatalolo, I think is his name. We'd remember him from Navy. Everyone remembers him. He ran the triple option his whole career. He knows how to play it. He knows how to defend it. They have an extra day to prepare because they played on Friday. And they actually looked really good last week. I faded them last week against Sacramento State, but they played really well at home. They've got the best player in the game. So I think this is
I'm sold. San Jose State.
You could have just ended it with they're playing a service academy, and I would have
you were on
you.
it.
Yeah.
I just saw you put the bet in. Yeah,
I did. Yep.
Virginia and Wake.
Yuck.
Buffalo and Mizzou. Mizzou looked great last week. Mizzou's kind of nice with it, dude.
Drinkowitz is a dork and unlikable, but he's a good coach. He's a good coach.
He's the opposite of Brian Kelly.
Yeah, he is when he plays Murray State. He's a good coach. Yeah.
Nichols and LSU in-state
Nichols by
rivals
the
here.
spread.
I'm gonna do LSU minus 51.5 because I think they're gonna Nuss might walk away with 7 touchdowns in this game. They're gonna try and make a point about we're not that bad.
I'm actually gonna go there. I also think they're gonna practice a lot of deep shots and try to attack down the field because they didn't do that against USC, and they have the athletes to do it, especially in this game.
Yeah, and it's the new video board opener.
I'm interested
the crowd's
to see
gonna
how
be
their
live.
defense plays in this game because I thought they did play well for 3 quarters, really well for 3 quarters against USC. I'm interested to see if against Nicholls State they show the same intensity that I think they're probably need to do on every week to shut guys out.
Yeah.
And if you're betting this, you probably are hoping they don't score a point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think LSU can cover this. NC State and Tennessee. This line keeps going up.
It's the game
NC
of the week.
State plus 10.
Texas.
Everybody is in love with Nico. I am going with NC State.
Let's go.
At home. Give me the Wolfpack. I got a lot of family in Raleigh. I thought NC State was going to be much better than they looked against Western Carolina, but it's a look ahead spot.
That's a rivalry.
It is a look ahead spot.
That's also a big rivalry there.
And Tennessee looked like the best team in the world against fucking Chattanooga. But give me NC State plus 10 at home. Like, I think they're a live dog here.
Hey,
I
don't
kind of
forget
like the over.
Don't forget too. They were breaking in a lot of new transfers last week, including your quarterback.
Grayson McCall, baby.
It's a process. They're getting their players ready. We saw Hawaii do it in week 0. They came out and they played really well the next week. NC State too dropped like back-to-back pick sixes easy. They dropped those. They dropped some easy passes.
I just think they're going to be really up for this game. I mean, they don't have games like this in Raleigh too often.
No,
and Raleigh has been a
Charlotte.
very.
I think it's in Charlotte, isn't it?
Oh, is it in Charlotte? Oh, it's not in Raleigh. It's still though. I mean, Tennessee will definitely travel. They travel as well as anyone, and they're
Tennessee is on that high horse where they just saw their prized recruit go out and slaughter a bad team, where they're like going into this inferior town and being like, you guys are peasants, you can't hang with us, yada yada yada. I do like NC State a little bit,
but NC State will travel for this game. They love
their Wolfpack. I have family in Raleigh too. They love
Nebraska and Colorado. One of the more fun games of the week, I think. Dylan Raiola, he looked kind of nice with it.
He is nice. I'm on Nebraska.
Is that a little baby Mahomes we have brewing in Corntown?
I think Matt Rule is just straight
Georgia going to be regretting letting him go? Kirby Smart can't keep quarterbacks.
Carson Beck didn't look too great last week. I actually think, on a real note, Matt Rule is just a straight up better coach than Deion Sanders. Like,
no way.
Straight, yes, dude. Matt Rule is a better
after your Cam Ward, Graham Mertz statement last week.
I did say earlier today how I was surprised. Like, I was like, "Damn, Cam Ward's really
I'll tell
good.
you what, Cam Ward looks.
He looks unbelievable. He is so damn good. He's really good.
Do you like anything in this, Larsen?
I really need Nebraska for my win total. I'm going to stay away because I don't trust anybody in this game. I'll go back too because I forgot to mention this just to put a bow on it with NC State. Last 4 regular season games as an underdog, they've won all 4 outright, including +9 at UNC and +10 at Clemson.
All right, I'm in.
So Wolves are howling. But no, nothing in Nebraska, Colorado.
Ohio State and Western Michigan. Houston and Oklahoma. God, what is Houston become?
Hey, I was right on with UNLV last week. They come out and they beat Houston's ass. Oklahoma took care of a really inferior opponent. Oklahoma definitely on my watch list for this. Maybe even like a first quarter. But UNLV came out and beat Houston like a drum.
They did. UNLV is pretty nice with it though.
Yeah.
App State.
I don't know why they were not favored in that game.
Is App State +17 a lock?
That's crazy.
I've seen a lot of smart people on the under here, is all I'm going to say.
I don't think I could bet against Clemson. This game's in Clemson, right? We're not getting some weird, like, the game's in Charlotte.
Charlotte also.
Okay, and listen, Death Valley is a hell of a place to play. I still am not there on Dabo Swinney's dead.
They're fucking dead, dude.
You can say they're dead, like they're not going to be a national title contender right now. I can agree until they get a quarterback.
I saw somebody
if
say
they get a quarterback, I
saw somebody say, and I agreed with them a lot, and I'm going to keep saying it, that Clemson is like Mac Brown, Texas. You know, the empire is falling. It's crumbling. You know, they might squeak out a couple more impressive wins, but like,
well, they'll definitely have week 1 of next year against LSU.
Yeah, they're 1-0 in 2025 already.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I will say, this is a night home opener in Clemson. Those people love their football team. They're not going to take App State lightly. I think they are going to be ready to play for this game. Now, Klubnik, I don't know
they showed
if he
up
can
for the Georgia
points.
game and got their fucking
all right, but the point
stuff.
is they're playing App State, not Georgia.
Okay.
That's the point. And listen,
App State loves these games.
Yeah,
they love these games.
They do. That's why I'm staying away, because otherwise I would pick App State every day of the week. But
money line.
Death Valley is at night. That place is going to be insane. Arizona and Northern Arizona. Almost didn't know what NAU was.
Take the over.
Texas Tech and Washington State. How about
Texas
this?
Tech
Mike Leach Bowl.
Almost lost to Abilene last week as a 31-point favorite or something. So
that's crazy.
It wasn't nearly as bad as Oregon almost losing to Idaho.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Idaho's one of the best FCS teams in the country.
And can we wait? Because look, I mean,
that a joke, Jake?
No, I'm dead serious. They're like,
okay, you said it like it was kind of like toeing the line of like, yeah, I don't know.
No.
Hey, did you look at the box score of that game too? Like Oregon, the game was not close in the box score. Oregon destroyed them. 31.
Dylan Gabriel threw for like 400 yards.
Dylan Gabriel threw for a ton of yards. It came down to a bunch of fourth down conversions. Look, we know Lanning puts his nuts on the table. He goes for on fourth down, and they didn't get it a lot. Idaho scored a touchdown on a trick play. I mean, it was that kind of a game. And look,
so you're saying Oregon. So this line should be 31.
It moved from 24 to 18, which I can understand that based on how Oregon looked from a final score perspective. But
I'm going to ride Oregon.
Awful. Boise's defense, feel free to tackle anyone. I mean, Georgia Southern went up and down with ease. This should not be that much of a line move. And look, Lanning comes from the Saban Kirby tree. He's going to have his guys absolutely fired up.
He's going to call them pieces of shit all week and how they're worthless. And
we saw Boise. They go on the road to these power conference teams historically, and they do horribly. Like they lost 56-19 to Washington, 34-17 to Oregon State.
I definitely think Oregon would be the bet. I'm going to
bet Oregon.
I'm going to wait and see Oregon do
Oregon
it.
by 30.
Plus, I just want Boise State to keep it close. New Mexico State and Liberty. Oregon State and San Diego State.
No.
Mississippi State and ASU.
I think Arizona State might be a little overrated last week because they killed Wyoming, and Wyoming rolled over after the first play. They threw a pick six first play and rolled over. That was not an Arizona State thing. I think that was a Wyoming mentality kind of thing. Jeff Lebby could mess around here. I think Mississippi State's live to win.
Last game of the week, Utah State and USC. Let down.
I mean, this line is funky.
I mean, you could take the Northern Illinois Notre Dame approach and put it to Utah State here if you wanted to. So
I think that USC is not Notre Dame. I mean, I think USC is. We're going to look up and they're going to be in the Big Ten championship. Like, I think they're going to be that good. That defense was legitimately good. Like, LSU's offensive line maybe is not as good as we think, or I thought it was, but it's not as bad either. Like, USC's defense is good, and Garrett Nussmeier is good. Kyron Lacey is good. Like, they showed out, and maybe they just got up for that game. So maybe you're right. The Notre Dame approach, you might be right.
I do think USC is good, but
I think they're going.
I don't know if they're going to get up for Utah State.
I mean, this has got like 56-6 written all over. It feels like.
I think it's got 36-8.
Wow. Go bet that.
And that is week 2, baby.
That is week 2 of your locks. We're going to win some more money this week.
We are all winners.
Yeah, that's it for me. But I'll get back this week. I promise.
Even money is still fun.
Yeah. All right. That wraps it up. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll be back next week.